Support the Amigos podcast and keep the Amiga goodness flowing for just $1 a month. Visit our page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about two things you put on your hands. A Powerglove and a Tiger Claw.
You put a tiger claw on your hand?
Where else would you put
You
it?
chop it off an actual tiger and fit it on there like a glove?
Oh, I mean, that's how I've always done it, but I mean, I guess there's other ways.
Fair enough. Okay, everyone, I need some help. This is an Amigo Aaron help contest. So recently, I have tried to get my arcade up and running, Bo. As you know, I finally got a good main machine set up. I'm starting to work on a pinball machines. My arcade is in a medium-sized metal building. All right, and what I need, because I am devoid, and you know this, Bo. I am devoid of all creativeness. I have none, zero. So what I'm asking is for you, the Amigos audience, I'm going to announce this on ARG as well, to come up with a good theme and some ideas for decor for my arcade. All right, I want a good theme. Now, keep in mind, I'm poor, so it has to be something I can do on the cheap. But I want it to be clever. And if you have any thoughts on it, you can email me at arg@mail.com. This is the arcade mail address. Send me your ideas, no matter how goofy they are, because you know I like goofy. And whoever comes up with the winning idea, and I'm going to be fair about this, because I'm going to use the idea. I'm much like the Amigos weight loss challenge. I'm throwing all in, and whoever comes up with the idea will receive an Amigo Aaron arcade fun pack, which will be fun things that are arcade related. So again, arg@mail.com. Send me all your ideas. Also, you can send them on Discord.
Awesome. I also wanted to tell everybody that we have a brand new system for Patreon rewards that just got done today. If you go over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast, you can see that you will now be getting physical things if you join us at the supporter level or above.
Physical things. Smack the crap out of you until the money comes falling out.
That's
like
right.
Rain.
So if you support the show at the Amigo supporter level, which is $4 a month, you can get an Amigo supporter magnet. These are exclusive magnets only available through Patreon, and they will come to you every year that you are a supporter.
Yeah, they're cool.
This year's magnet features none other than your boy Lionheart.
Yes. I demanded it.
You can watch all of his magnificent running frames of animation in the background of this magnet. If you support us as a member of the Amigos Game Selection Committee, you get a special magnet in addition to all of your privileges herein with the choosing the game that we play every week on Discord. And of course, if you support us at any level, you get access to our marvelous. Who was the guy that said that?
That was Billy Crystal.
Billy Crystal.
Marvelous.
Right. Our marvelous Discord server where things are happening all the time. And we've added a new tier, Aaron. A new tier. This is the Amigos Loot Crate tier.
What?
Okay? So if you support us at the Amigos Loot Crate tier, once a year we will send you a box full of awesome stuff from our own personal collections. Who knows what could happen? Who knows what could turn up in these boxes? Sealed Amiga games, crazy stuff you've never heard of, wackiness. So
bits of my beard.
Yeah, locks of my hair.
No.
Anyway, if you haven't been to our Patreon page recently and you are not yet supporting the show and you would like to, this is a perfect time to jump in. Once again, that is patreon.com/AmigosPodcast.
It's blowing up, Boat.
It is.
It's blowing up.
So, Aaron.
And Boat, I should add, Boat has several cunning plans and forthcoming. They're going to be awesome. I'm telling you that right now.
All I can say is don't miss next week's show. If you're watching live, don't miss next week's show. And if you don't watch next week's show live, there will be an announcement.
To be fair, never miss next week's show.
That's
next
true.
week in particular,
That's
never
right.
miss that one.
Aaron, what do you think about the ultimate in wacky peripherals? You know,
Wow.
the Powerglove was a big deal for the Nintendo Entertainment System back in the 80s.
Yes.
You know, there was another thing called the U-Force. Do you remember the U-Force?
Is this the gimmick you stood in?
No. This is the thing that it folded up like a laptop.
Yeah.
It was a clamshell, and you wave your hands, and there were
yeah.
sensors that would pick up your hand movements.
Yeah, I
Now,
remember that.
you know, there's been a litany of these things. What do you think is the height of quackery when it comes to these wacky
It seems
peripherals?
to me there was this gimmick for the 2600 that you could use your mind to control stuff on screen. I think that, remember that?
I remember that. There was a sensor. You hook it in there like an EKG.
You're concentrating so you can play kangaroo.
You know, we should see if we can locate one of those on the eBay, and that would be a great part of
Yeah, because
Amigathon.
theoretically you can hook that right up to the Amiga and use it.
That's right. Next Amigathon we'll have the mind control block.
I could mind meld with Lionheart right there on the screen.
That's right. Two become one.
I would have the lion claw at that point. I'm sure it's not a tiger's claw. I shot that in the bud, didn't it?
Well, you know, you
Dadgummit.
tried.
That's wacky though. That's my wacky one.
So, Aaron, you know, what's been going on this week on our site, everythingamiga.com, and also, you know, on our YouTube channel? Anything cool?
Not really.
Not really? Well, let's take a look at our...
It's all cool all the time. Non-stop cool.
Let's take a look at our page here and see if anything new has popped up. So over here on the Amiga Press, it looks like we have a new article up here. No, this is not new. This is the same one we talked about last week. This is the Automoboats and Boat-O-Mobiles.
You know, I don't remember boats, automoboats, and boatmobiles from last week. I don't remember that at all. It seems like I remember that title.
Maybe this could it be?
This is another one of Dreamcatcher's Bond series.
Oh my gosh, he's back again.
Now look what he's doing here. Now I haven't got to read this yet, so it must have just popped recently. This is a take on the Bond game Live and Let Die based on the movie. Now, this was Roger Moore's debut as Bond in the film. And, you know, of course, I've told you, I love Roger Moore. He's the kind of campy goofball that I like. And so Live and Let Die was an awesome film. It had two or three of my all-time favorite scenes, particularly the one where he is wooing the card reader of Mr. Big. There's a chick that reads tarot cards. She's supposed to be magical.
Mr. Big?
Mr. Big's a bad guy.
I'm
in
the
this.
one who wants
Not that Mr.
to-
Big. This is a Mr. Big from like Harlem. Okay, you don't. And by the way, his death is great in this. But he's got this chick that reads tarot cards. So the chick, her name's Solitaire, I think. She comes into the room where she reads them, and here's Roger Moore sitting in her throne with this big cape on.
Right, I think Dreamcatcher's got a picture of that
Yeah.
right at the top
and
of the
she
article.
goes, "What are you doing in here?" And he goes, "Listen." He goes, "The cards say we will be lovers." And she's like, "That can't be true." He throws a tarot card down. Bam, it's a lover's card. He's like, "What?" She grabs a card, throws it down. Bam, it's the lovers again. And she, of course, she just gives in.
That's it.
And then as they start going to work, he drops the cards, and every card in the deck is the lovers card. He's replaced them all.
Oh, you know, that's...
crafty.
He
love that.
really knows how to work the women,
And
Bond
at the
does.
end, no spoiler alert, but Mr. Big, they slip him this gimmick, like some kind of air compressed gimmick, and he explodes
Oh my
like a
gosh.
balloon. And there's a great scene of him inflated. It's got the classic old school special effects. It's just like a black guy balloon. He's like, he explodes. That's gold. He can't beat that. So yeah, great stuff. And Dreamcatcher, I love the Bond series. I've read them all. It's the first one I've read, so I can't wait to see that one.
How about what's been going on our YouTube channel, Aaron?
Now that one just popped, and I actually saw this one uploading. This is Road Avenger, another Laserdisc game for the Amiga. Road Avenger, that's what I've played is much more. This is actually a pretty decent Laserdisc game as far as that goes, where you're driving a car, and it's pretty good. I mean, I enjoyed playing it. I've only seen it in the arcade. Like, I'm trying to think if I ever saw it. Now I think of it. I've played it at home a bunch, but I don't know if I ever saw it in the arcade or not. It's very similar to Time Gal. Japanese anime style car game. in this
Were
game.
there a lot of these things?
Oh yeah.
Is there a Lupin game that's also a
Your cliffhanger.
cliffhanger?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
That one was straight out of a movie. I found out last week that when we talked about Time Gal, I did some research, and Time Gal, actually, that anime is actually made specifically for the game, as opposed. I also read that Time Gal is sort of loosely based on someone that made her debut in an old anime called The Dirty Pair. I used to watch that, and it was actually the very first anime I ever saw, adult type anime, not like a Speed Racer. So that was kind of neat. But this one is a car racing. Like I said, it's car chases and stuff. So if you think about how that would work at a laser game, it works just like you think. You turn left at the right time or go right at the right time or whatever. It's but I haven't seen the Amiga version. But if it's anything like, really theoretically, if they can make the laser games like Time Gal look that good, then really you should be able to do about any of them. It's the same basic bear on that, so it shouldn't be that hard to do them.
Maybe that's a cottage industry for somebody these days. Take some Laserdisc games and just do a quick and dirty Amiga port.
I think it's great.
Sell it to the millions that are eager.
I would like to see a proper Dragon Slayer come out, like a proper one. And then someday my dream will happen. I'm sure I've told you about this, where we get how many scenes are in Dragon Slayer? It's like 15 minutes of footage. There's probably like about 50 scenes. We get people to reshoot live action versions of all the scenes, and then we meld them together, and then that's the reenactment of the game. It'd be awesome.
Maybe we can get the Discord crew together to shoot those scenes from around the world.
Everybody. It'd be good just have a live action, because everyone, I always wonder why no one even tried to do a live action version of Dragon Slayer, because it'd be goofy and funny. And you don't get any special effects.
Right.
And that's what makes it better. Like instead of the flaming ropes.
How are you going to handle all the million ways you die in that game?
They have to when you film it, you have to film that scene's deaths too. That's part of it, you see.
Chilling.
But yeah, I know. I think it'd be fun.
So Aaron, this was a huge week for the boys at Amigos Studios East on ARG Presents.
You mean me and Brent, the
Yes.
boys? Like there's other boys. They're not Dalton Castle's boys. It was it huge?
Could you imagine you and Brent as Dalton Castle's boys?
I don't think anyone wants to imagine that. Yeah, this week we were in our element on ARG as we were taking a look at fighting games. And we picked a couple, I'd say radically different choices for games.
Now here you've got the on the video, the screen. You've chosen this backdrop of a bunch of people cheering. I'm guessing this is the background to some stage in a fighting game.
Yeah, it is. I couldn't tell you which one. I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, I just thought it looked cool.
I thought there might have been a story.
Yeah, and then we also go over a brief history of
you have a brief history of me as a martial artist.
That's
here
right,
on the side.
you made a special guest appearance.
Wow.
You're also on the thumbnail too. No one mentioned that to you, eh?
No, nobody brought that up.
That's funny.
My permission was not asked.
I know. Put you right up there. Listen, I needed a real life martial arts fighter. Now, who do I know?
That's true.
I needed Boat O'Carr. So you're on there. Also, you're in the crowd in the thing if we look real close. But we did a couple fun games. I did Time Killers, which is a how do you describe Time Killers? A lot of people don't like it. But I enjoyed it. And then Brent did X-Men vs. Street Fighter, the Saturn rendition of that particular game, which I know he was a big fan of, and I like the arcade version, and the Saturn version is very good. So it was fun. We had a good time. And coming up this weekend, we'll be filming a show where we go through the history of Midway as a game publisher and as a developer. So that should be a lot of fun. We're gonna pick a couple games from Midway. So yeah, that was a cool fun time.
All right, well that wraps up our side updates. And Aaron, I hear it coming. I hear the gamble train. It's rolling up to the station here in downtown Hurricane. You ever taken a train from Hurricane anywhere?
How could you do that? We don't have a stop.
You're quite old, and and at some point in the past there was. There was.
You're gonna get
Do you remember the old water tower that used to be right by the fire station?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do.
So,
no, the train never stopped here, Boat. That stopped coming in like the 30s or something.
Well,
you dipstick.
Anyway, the gamble train is carrying this week's Amiga news. And the gamble train's happy because this week it's kind of a light load. Not much going on.
There was some pretty.
I thought there was some pretty interesting news. Now there are some interesting stories, just not a whole lot of them. The first one I found, this guy Matthew Smith on Twitter. He says, first there was Amiga Power. and then there was no more of it. Now, in the year of our Lord, 2019, Amiga Power returns in musical form. So this is going to be an Amiga album that is going to be launched on Kickstarter with tons of different composers. I guess this is just a bunch of different odes to the Amiga. And it's gotten quite a bit of attention on the internet. So we will be returning to this once the Kickstarter launch to see exactly what's going on with it. So
if you look over the people that are going to be involved, if they get this kicked off, it's like the who's who of studs. So
right.
There's plenty of good people in there. So yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, there's something to be said for using an old magazine to relaunch your new program.
That is weird.
Yeah, I don't know who would do something like that, but anyway, check out. We'll keep you updated with this, and I guess you can hashtag Amiga Power to search for that.
Now I'm guessing this is not the Doctor Who Matt Smith, is it?
Is he a Doctor Who?
He was. He was the Doctor. Three Doctors back. The geeky one.
You've got an incredible memory to know the Doctors, 3 Doctors back.
Well, it's not that hard. It's only counting 3. It's not that.
What if I just shouted out 7? Could you just give me a name like that?
No. I used to be able to, but not now. Also, I haven't watched Doctor Who much recently, so my Doctor Who knowledge is I got to get it back.
Yeah.
They need to make better Doctor Who's. I'd be back in.
Now,
it's like Bond.
Here is the story of the week right here. This one, I know that you've been spreading this link far and wide.
I just wanted to get some opinions, and we'll just go into it briefly here. I guess is that John A. Ascendon has an article here, and the article is Hyperion versus Colanto, the longest-running lawsuit in the history of computing. Now, you'll recall, Boaster, nearly a month or so ago, I believe, where Colanto somehow through the court system acquired the rights to everything that Amiga Inc. held. And so I've always, I've been around for a long time, as you love to point out. But all these lawsuits and the ownership of the Amiga stuff, it's really hard to follow. And so when this article came up and it was spelled out, I was like, thank you. Let's have a look at this and see what's going on. It's a pretty interesting article. And I'm not going to go into every aspect of it, but basically the gentleman that writes it is pretty much tells you who owned the Amiga assets, how the rights to the various items that are out there were distributed, and what's the situation now. And to summarize as best as I can, when Gateway 2000 bought the Amiga rights back in the day, and this is way back. Gateway, basically, I think all their stuff. Anyway, Acer ends up with all their stuff. So all Amiga stuff was owned by Acer, and presumably still is. Now, I'd heard that a long time ago. And then basically what the article goes into is how that they effectively licensed hardware production on Amiga stuff to the Hyperion folks, and then the Kickstart copyrights and whatnot went to the Colanto folks. Now, some of this is fact, and there's some speculation in here. But since these two sides have gone to battle for years and years and years over various subjects, what the author of this article contends is that, and I've heard this from other people, but it was never spelled out, is that Colanto is purposely trying to kill any sort of future Amiga development and sort of take Hyperion, all that stuff out of the equation. And I'd heard that, and I was like, well, why would they do that? Well, from the article contends that the reason is, and much like they just released that new version of Kickstarter a while back that ended up being taken off the market because of another lawsuit. Well, since Colanto owns these older Kickstarts, anything developed that's new that would invalidate the older Kickstarts would basically take away their ability to earn money with those Kickstarts. That's basically what the article contends. And so, effectively, what they're saying is Colanto tries to take out all of this future development, but it's because if any of it gets a foothold, it would basically effectively destroy what they've got. It would lessen the value of their assets.
Right.
Because from what the fellow in the article contends, the only thing that they actually have the rights to are those old Kickstarts. And of course, their other big asset is Amiga Forever, which I use all the time. And we've actually covered Cloanto, and Cloanto actually been pretty nice to us. And you had an interview with one of the developers for Cloanto. So I'm not here to bury Cloanto, but that's just. But I mean, it's got to be spoken about. But the contention is that they're basically making it so nothing can move forward, so their assets maintain their value. Strictly business tactics. Not a popular move, I would wait. I know that. And you've heard me, I've even speculated, why don't they release this stuff? What's the point? Well, they're making money, you know? And the problem with Amiga Forever is, and we've known this, I didn't know exactly what kind of relationship they had with the Amiga Forever folks that do the emulator, or the UAE people, I should say. There is no relationship. As far as the article contends, that they've never sent one red dime to the UAE people who, and let's face facts, and as much as I love Amiga Forever, and it's a lot of good work there, but it's built on the back of UAE.
Sure.
It's not favorable to Cloanto, I guess is what I'm saying. So this is a story like a to be continue. I've reached out to a couple people to get their take on it, because I don't want to. I'm not here to bury anybody, but it was. I will say the article's a must read, and it clears up things quite a bit for a neophyte that doesn't exactly what's going on, such as us. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, the article, I read a lot of the New York Times, and I can recognize a hit piece when I see one, and that's what this article is. It makes no attempts to contact anyone from the other side. He basically lays out and says, this is how it is, without sourcing anybody that's currently involved with Cloanto. I'm not saying that it's not correct.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that it's a one-sided article.
I think the reason I found this article on the Facebook page, Amiga Disrupt, I believe is what it's called, and which is you got an eclectic bunch on there. But I think this article is almost an answer to which would explain why the position he took is it was an answer to the fact that everyone was celebrating Cloanto's victory in gaining the rights to Amiga Inc. And even we sort of did it, because it seems like, okay, just get all this stuff in house, but. There's a limit to what they can do even with all these rights because of Acer, and there's a reason he wrote it with that slant, and the slant being, listen, these are actually not the good guys, and here's what happened. I take everything with a grain of salt on the internet, especially in a very complicated issue like this. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't here to bury anybody, but I found it an interesting article. It's definitely worth reading.
Yeah, absolutely. It's must-read information, because you just don't get a lot of backstory on a lot of this stuff, even in the best of times. So what I would love is if Cloanto would come out and, if this was a threat at all to Cloanto's business, they would have somebody out there with an official, PR, in a PR capacity to say, this is wrong and this is why. It's clear that Cloanto doesn't care what this guy thinks, and doesn't depend on people that read this guy's articles for them to continue to make money, because it doesn't, no one has said anything from Cloanto on this subject. If this thing was the bombshell that the author of the blog, kind of puts it out to be, if Cloanto was threatened, they would have said something by now.
Really, I don't think it's a bombshell. This information has been out there. It's just news to me.
Yeah, and it's written in a very compelling way too. He's a good writer, this guy.
Yeah. I found it interesting.
And that's going to do it for this week's Amiga News. The Gamble train pulling out of the station. We'll see you next time. Just like the trolley in Mr. Rogers, it pulls up. You have
to get the xylophone.
You have the good times, and then the good times are over, because we got to talk about
play
this
overseas.
I don't think so. Sesame Street, because it's it's so much longer airing, and because it's so much easier to I think it's easier for the overseas audience to get a show like Sesame Street, because there's cute Muppets around and stuff like that. I never once saw Mr. Rogers playing overseas, but I saw Sesame Street everywhere.
There you go. The worldly boat.
You learned something today.
Indeed.
Well, Aaron, let's talk about this week's first game, Powerglove Reloaded.
Powerglove. So, let me move to my second page of my notes here. So, Powerglove Reloaded. Now, what we're looking at this week are a couple... I guess you wouldn't call these indie games. You would call these. I think both these were contest entrants a few years back. And
I would call them indie games. Why would you not?
Well, I mean,
is this like college music?
Well, no. I'm just thinking. No, it's not. I'm not badmouth. I'm just saying. When is an indie game not? I mean, Amiga really doesn't have a non-indie scene. I mean, that's
Right,
my
yeah,
point.
okay.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
That's why I said that.
It's not like Psygnosis is out there putting
Right.
out games alongside. So yeah, you've got a point.
So Powerglove comes out in 2018, which is, just came out late last year. This game was based on the C64 version which came out first. It was, and I've always heard I've heard good things about it before I played this. I had heard about it. Developed by an outfit called Lazy Cow Boat. And I looked up
both these games. I believe are Lazy Cow games.
In fact, these games are pretty much the same publisher did them both. Lazy Cow actually has a pedigree on the Amiga. In fact, I actually had played one of their games. In fact, I think I played a couple. They did Mind Runner, Monsters of Terror. That sounds pretty cool. Poweroids, Star Defender, and one I have played, Zerberk.
You know, Poweroid sounds like every mobile game has got to be like Clash of Champions or Might of Honor.
Yeah.
Poweroids. It's like, what are two video gaming words we can put together?
Well, hey, listen, you can't beat Zerberk as far as I'm concerned. And I've played Zerberk, and I remember we were doing an episode on. We were doing on conversions, video game conversions or something, so I found Zerberk and gave it a whirl way back. So I actually who knew I'd been playing it. I like the fact that when their logo comes up, it moves. That's pretty funny. So this game was created by a fellow named Mathis Bach. And some of the games I just mentioned, he had a hand in, including Mind Runner, Monsters of Terror, Poweroid, Star Defender. He also was involved in Tiger Claw, Tubular Worlds.
That's that record album from the 70s.
Tubular Worlds.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. I like that some of the songs. And the musician on this thing, according to this, Cyborg Jeff. Or Pierre Martin. Cyborg Jeff.
If my name was Pierre Martin, I would not have an alias.
Yeah.
That's an awesome name.
The artwork, the box artwork, try pronouncing that. Ilja Malintejevic. That's a Scrabble triple word score right
Absolutely.
there for that one. Now, believe it or not, Boatster, aside from being out in the Amiga, this thing was released on Windows, Linux, Mac OS. So, and the Amiga version has every conceivable format. I was like, wow, even DMS, which I haven't thought about that one for a while.
What is that?
That's a compressed disk format that you can just basically uncompress and it'll be a disk fully ready to go. Yeah, and it was when that DMS was the bomb back in the day. We used it for everything, so it was a pretty big deal. So the plot. This game has a plot. I don't know if you looked at the docs, but I had a look at them here. So get this. This is as timely as today's headlines, Boat. The world's fossil resources are exhausted. Dadgummit.
You knew it would happen sooner or later.
You'd think West Virginia would have held out longer.
Well, we did. We turn out we're on top at the end.
Oh.
At the very end.
No wonder the world's all screwed up. 2 polar subterranean thermal reactors.
Oh my gosh.
Supply the increasing energy demand of mankind. Wow. An explosion in the northern pole thermal reactor has destroyed all primary and secondary energy connections, and contact with the engineers and rescue robots has been lost. Without an energy supply, the death of billions is imminent. We need the 6 control diamonds to engage the station's backup systems. Use the shielded suit and the Powerglove to protect you against the maintenance robots. You're our only hope.
Wow.
So that you didn't realize it was a heavy story.
I did not get that at all.
My first bit of advice: your backup system should not be 6 diamonds surrounded by killer robots in a subterranean mine.
True.
This is not a good plan. This is not a good plan at all. So, with that stark realism in mind, you are the Powerglove Reloaded guy, and you in this game, which is your sort of I never thought I'd get to use this word on the show, but it's as I hear it all the time on Pixel Gaiden, but this is sort of a what does they call it? The
Metroidvania.
Metroidvania. You stole my thunder.
I'm sorry, I couldn't remember, and I was
got
helping
to say
you.
it though. Metroidvania. Where's my beer? And this one, it's one of the, this reminds me of like something right off the NES or something. You go down in this mine. You start out with this like a series of pipes, like Mario style.
Mm-hmm.
And you run over. There's a computer there. It says like I'm hosed.
Right.
Go take care of business. And there's a couple open pipes. You get a choice. You go down, and it's just what the thing says. You're going down to retrieve this this stuff from this mine. The game opens with a pretty nice loading screen where the camera is sort of descending a shaft, and there's parallax in there. It's quite nice.
Yeah.
And some good tune kicking it off, and then you begin, and your guy sort of looks like a diminutive version of Mega Man. That's
Right.
what he reminded me
That was the
of.
first thing I thought of too.
So now, I know you played a lot of those old NES games. I'm guessing this is sort of up to your alley. What did you think of this thing, the premise, and what were your first impressions when you kicked it off?
Well, yeah, at first I was very excited. I thought this was going to be like a Mega Man game for the Amiga. Unfortunately, the game sort of gives you there's like 8 pipes at the beginning.
Right.
And 2 are unblocked. You
Right.
can travel through 2 pipes. I traveled through what I could see everywhere I could go in those 2 pipes, and then I got stuck. And I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do next. So I must have missed something very substantial in this game. One of the things that makes the Mega Man series great, you played some of the Mega Mans, didn't
I have.
you?
Mega Man 2 in particular, I played that one quite a bit. I think that's the big one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the big one. So each level in Mega Man is different. There's different enemies, there's different environments, there's different backgrounds, there's different music. And that makes it cool, because essentially you're doing the same thing in Mega Man as you're doing in this game. You're progressing through different places, and you're killing enemies and things. However, all of the things that make Mega Man great are not present in this game. There's not much variety in the way of enemies, at least in the first 2 pipes. You basically have 3 different kinds, and I think at the end of the game, on the high score screen, you get a little parade of all of the robots. And I think there's only 5 total.
There's 7.
7?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I saw about half of them, and, it's a shame coming from a game like Mega Man that this game is so, closely identified with on first blush, where it seems like there's just like thousands of different kinds of enemies that all kind of act different. They move around. In this game, even the colors of the enemies are all the same. The level design is fine. It's definitely closer to a Castlevania type level design than a Mega Man style. There's a lot more verticality in these levels, and there's also an auto mapping feature, which is quite handy.
I will say as far as the mapping, I like how they put it in there. It's very. It stays at the bottom of the screen, and you can tell what you're doing.
Yeah, it's inconspicuous.
Yeah, it's
you don't have to take your hands off the joystick and push space on the keyboard or something to bring it up.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, I think it's I'm always for new games on the Amiga. I think it's great. We purchased these ADFs. I think we should mention. For some reason, these games are free on the PC and on Linux, and I think on Mac as well. But if you want the ADF versions of these games, the Amiga version, you got to pony up some bucks. Each one of these games, not a lot. Each
like
game,
$3
$3 a piece on these games. So, but we're happy to pay it. I love checking out new software. But at the end of the day, the most frustrating thing for me, and the thing that really kept me from coming back and playing this more, because it controls fine. I thought that the shooting was great. One life. You got one life to live, Odyssey 2 style. And when you've got a game of this size and you die and you've got to start over completely from the beginning, you don't want to play anymore.
Well, I cheated. I can tell you that right now. I put this on my Amiga, and I was like, well, I'm not going to make it anywhere on this thing without being able to cheat save state. So I would say, and it didn't help that much, but I found it difficult. First of all, I want to go over some of the good things I did like. They give you button choices on your what you want to jump. Actually, both games did. Another thing they had in this that I thought was cool was the ability to go back and look at the C64 version and play that.
Well, it's funny. That's not actually. I don't think this game was ever actually released on the C64.
Well, it was.
Was it?
It was in a contest. I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I was discussing with the people in the chat. I was wondering if this, because it plays exactly the same, and you would think that the C64 version would play a little bit differently just because of the differences in the system architecture. What I think they've done here is put a C64 color palette on this or something, because they're just so exact. I can't imagine that both versions of the game would play exactly the same. Now, I'm not sure about that, and I could be completely wrong, but that was just the impression that I got.
Well, both the games we're talking about today had C64 releases. They're both ported over. But I mean, it's neat. Of course, it's funny. The C64 version, which actually had a couple turns out, it reminded me an awful lot of of CGA in terms of the color palette. You know, I liked. There were a lot of things to like in this. It's a stylish game. The robots are cool. I didn't have that big a deal with them. There's not a ton of enemies, but I didn't get far enough to where I could really make a determination of how many there were. I did manage to get to the first boss, so I felt pretty good about that.
See, I didn't even get to the first boss.
Yeah, I got to.
I couldn't figure out how to find him.
It took a while. Well, it took a lot of cheating, but I got there. It's amazing how far you can get when you continuously cheat. I like the fact that it's got boss battles. One of the problems I had, and this is a personal issue more than it is anything else, is that your Powerglove guy is small. He's very small.
He's a tiny man.
And I'm getting old. It was tough. I had trouble. You know, it was too small for me. Now I know this is sort of the way. I know this came over from the C64, and so I'm sure that was part of it. But and I do play Jumpman, but even Jumpman's bigger than this guy. This guy's tiny. So there's some jumps in this early on too that are really difficult. And the funny thing about this game is you could fall forever, and that's okay. But when you try to make a jump and you miss, you basically are falling into an area that you can't see, and so there's all sorts of. That's why I died most of the time, missing a jump, and I would get shot on the way down. You're right. The guy is easily killed. And some of the bad guys are like, I'll give you an example of something that really made me angry. So it was the very first game of this I had. I'm rolling through, I'm getting the hang of it, I'm shooting, I learned how to jump and shoot. And then I get to this robot that is positioned above me. And so I'm gonna jump up and shoot him. He's got a shot that droops and curves. And it were almost impossible to get past this. You're gonna die the first time. You know, it's the first level in the first 5 minutes. Give me a break, for God's sakes. Don't put this guy here, or at least let me see him somewhere else doing that before I get to him. You know, it's easy to get frustrated. And you're right. I knew right away. I was like, when I was playing this on the Amiga, I'm like, this ain't gonna fly. I mean, I'll never get anywhere. I mean, I thought it was kind of hard. A hard game. I thought of the two, this was the much harder of the two. Now,
see, I disagree. I thought Tiger Claw was more challenging.
No, I didn't think Tiger Claw was as hard, but I'll explain that why when we get to it. I like the tunes in this. Right? I thought the music was okay, and I like the look of it, and it looks. I mean, this right here once again clearly tells me that the Amiga could have pulled off some of those Mega Man style games.
Well, I don't know if this tells us that or not.
I think there's a lot of aspects of this.
Mega Man is about 16 times bigger, and there's a billion times more things going on.
Well, there's a lot of stuff in this. I mean. For example,
this proves that an Amiga can do a more colorful C64 port.
Well, now you're being nasty. I think it does more than that. I thought it was a pretty decent game. Clearly, I liked it more than you. Clearly. I thought you would like it a lot more than me because it's more your genre of gaming. I mean, I like the fact that when you jump up in the air, your guy can bump his head. That was kind of cute. I like the idea that you get a level choice, I like the boss fights. Now, the boss fight, listen, it's funny, there's very little video. I don't think I could find anyone.
Right. After I got done playing, I went to YouTube to look for a playthrough and also for a video for us to use, and I couldn't find anybody that got any farther than I did. So I'm just using the video we're watching now is of my playthrough.
Yeah. The boss is, I don't know how tough he was, but I mean, it took me a long time to get to him, and I had to say my game fairly close to him. But it was frustrating. But I mean, he was pretty cool looking. He wasn't anything to write home about. It didn't seem like it was that intricate. I went ahead and watched someone who got past the first boss, and you just pick this thing up, go up and unlock a tube. It's just like you would expect, you know. I think you've got to judge a game like this on a different, like I said, on a different scale. But I mean,
Yeah, I guess the Amiga platformer scale.
No,
which the bar is set so low.
That's not what I mean.
That's exactly what you mean.
You've got a not. No, I mean there's like 1 or 2 guys working on this game.
Oh yeah,
and it was entered for a contest.
I'm not saying that the guys did a bad
so
job.
There's no reason to kill it. I mean the guys. I thought it was a pretty good job.
What you're saying is like you liked Mega Man, so you must love this game, and this is not like Mega Man at all.
What I'm saying is. I thought it was a good game. I thought it's a playable game. It's again of the 2 games, I prefer the other one. I think for more, but I've got my reasons. But this one has its, it's close. I don't know. They're both pretty close. I don't know which one I prefer more. The more I think about it. I think this one has a lot going for it, but the guy was a little bit too small for me. The controls were great. You had controlling options. I believe this has shared high score tables like that you can hook up. Now I read this. I haven't actually tried it, but I think you can. If you have an Amiga that's set up on the network, it'll actually upload high scores to a online store. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I do. I do appreciate the option to turn on up for jump. Without up for jump, this game would be infuriating, or without button for jump. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate this. Does this game, or was it Tiger Claw? I know Tiger Claw had a sound test at the beginning. I don't think this one did.
The Tiger Claw had multiple game soundtracks you can pick from. Which
right.
Now, one thing about this that, of course, we didn't. We bought just the actual, the disc image, but. You can get this on CD and the box version.
Yeah, the packaging is very impressive.
It comes with a manual, it comes with a poster, a map, it comes with stickers and badges, so it's pretty cool.
And maybe if I would have had the map to go off of, and I could have maybe seen where I was supposed to go. But again, it seems like I made all of this progress. Maybe if I would have done a better job playing the game, I would have liked it more. Well, I don't want to kill it, but. Especially for what it is, like you said, it's a contest game. Somebody worked on this and entered a contest. Nobody was working for money for this game, and they're selling it at very reasonable price. Even the packaged versions, I think, are only about €10 or something like that.
Well, so. I think again, I'll look at you. When I was saying you had to judge this, I was thinking more like when you bought a budget title back in the day, and you paid £5 or whatever. Yeah. You're not this is well above what I would expect for a $3 game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Point. There's tons of budget titles that are much worse. Absolutely.
I'm not here to kill this game.
There's that guy you hate, by the way, with the dropping shot.
I think if I played it longer, I could get better. I played it. I had 3 or 4 sessions this week, giving it a shot. But it was frustrating, and I would say play it with something where you can save the states. That's what that'd be my final thought on it. I looked this thing up. Believe it or not, I found a couple reviews for these games. Of course, Lemon has this one very high.
They rate everything
and
very
an 8.1, and Retro Video Gamer has this 8 out of 10. So
we like those guys over Retro Video Gamer.
Yeah, those are both good scores, and I think this game is probably something. If this is your genre of thing. You'd probably dig it. It was okay for me. It's not necessarily my kind of shooting game, but I thought it was okay.
Yeah. Well, you want to take a look at Los Tiger Claw?
No, I found this one the more intriguing title, but mostly because of its connection to the old game Bruce Lee. So Bruce Lee, if you haven't played this game, I know Graham doesn't like Bruce Lee. I saw him post something about that. I couldn't believe it. Bruce Lee came out way back in '84. And this thing came out on, it was on everything. The 8-bits, the Atari 8-bits, MSX, ZX Spectrum, Amstrad, BBC Micro, C64, DOS, Apple, and the PC-88. That's every possible thing that was out in '84, I think. And it, of course, was a licensed title. It was one of the earliest licensed titles. It may have been the first. It was real early. Where you play Bruce Lee. And in this game, you're going around multiple screens, and you're collecting lanterns and trying to avoid a ninja and a guy called the Green Yama, which is a sumo wrestler.
I love the Green Yama.
And
he has this awesome call whenever he enters the screen. Oh!
When you're playing 2 players, you could actually, I believe, it seems like you could actually make him make that noise with one of the buttons. Yeah. So this game was sort of billed as the unofficial spiritual successor to Bruce Lee. I mean,
Was it ever actually billed that way, or did we just infer that?
No, it was billed that way.
Okay.
And if you look at just look at this. If you're watching the video right now, if you look at the screen, I mean, the opening screens are almost. They're not exactly the same as the original. I mean, they're obviously more than inspired by them. They're dead on. So in this game, you play Tiger Claw. This game's actually got a wacky backstory too. 4 magic scrolls have been stolen by the 3 lords of evil. What do you expect the lords of evil to do?
They're not going to give them back.
No. Help Tiger Claw on his path to retrieve the valuable scrolls before Fire Fist, Thunder Chain, and Angry Tongue. Man, you don't want to mess with that guy.
That sounds like you, Angry Tongue.
I think I lived with him. Can reveal their full potential. And now, of course, your guy is Master Lee. Get it?
I get it.
Yeah.
Master Lee, PhD. That's the Beastie Boys song.
I say your guy, the guy who set this up, he transferred some of these scrolls powers into 4 masks, and you got to go get the masks. Go fetch them. Okay. So, Tiger Claw. Now, if you've played Bruce Lee, which I've played it forever and ever, you'll know that in that game, again, like I mentioned, you go and collect lanterns. And the funny thing about Bruce Lee is the fighting aspect of it is basically just to get those guys off you. You don't you're not going to really tie up with them because it's pointless. You're collecting, you're getting them out of your way. You can sort of daze them, and but you really don't want to tangle with them. And you get to the lanterns, and if you play the original, it opens up an underground world. After you get so many, you go underground, and you go through the underground world trying to collect everything. Tiger Claw is a whole different type of game, isn't it? This game is it's a platform game where you have to follow a certain sequence to get through the levels. There's no collecting, except for the masks that you get at the end of the level. It's all about going through a set pattern to get to the end of that level.
Right.
Okay, and it will take you through 2 or 3 screens several times to get all the way to the top.
Right.
So when I first started this game, I have to say it took me a while to understand what was happening. I was looking for stuff to collect, and I couldn't figure out what was happening. Something else in this, there are more enemies. Lots of ninjas. Now, I never saw the Green Yamo. I don't know if he's in here at any point. But
yeah, I didn't see any sumo wrestlers in this.
There are plenty of ninjas in this. And I will say the ninjas, they have an idle, it's not an animation, it's just standing there. And they just look like studs.
Yeah.
Their eyes are red. They're much more evil looking than the original ninja.
Yeah.
And they're also far more competent than him, because he was the puss of that team.
Well, both the enemies in Bruce Lee, I think by design, are pretty easy to get rid of.
Yeah. By the way, I played this on the easiest conceivable setting.
Yeah.
As I did every game.
I did both, and I could not figure out what the difference was, other than I think it's just the amount of enemies, and I think the frequency in which they throw their projectiles.
Well, I never got far enough to see any actual stars. All I did was because again, I was on the dirt easiest version. So I'm fighting these guys, and in this, you really have to fight a lot more, because you just have to get anywhere, because they're going to try to get in your way at every turn. So you get all the way through the first level, and you finally confront a boss, and which is Fire Fist. Now, Fire Fist it sort of looks like a ninja that's on fire, which if you've played Bad Dudes, it's one of my favorite games. There's a ninja on fire in that. So
really? I don't remember the old fire.
You first see him when you're in the woods. He just runs along going like, wow, he's on fire. Because that's how much they set themselves on fire.
I mean, when you're on fire, you don't stand still. You got to keep moving.
I'm on fire.
Right.
So in this, but Fire Fist comes out, and actually, the first time I met him, I crushed him. Now Bruce Lee, this has like a health system, and it's I would say it's pretty fair. I mean, you get a good bit of health. The games, like my games, were way longer on this than they were on a Powerglove. And then once you beat this guy, once you finally beat the fire guy, then you could access the lower levels, just like the original Bruce Lee. But in the original Bruce Lee, there were different sorts of perils underground. There were these like electrical shocks that would run across the platforms and stuff. This one is just, again, you're trying to get to a point where you can access the next point on your way to gain the ability to get over a certain barrier to get to the end.
It's
of the
really
level.
more of a level traversal than a collect-a-thon.
I'm trying to think of games that are like this. I know I've played some, maybe like Wizards and Warriors or something. Is that one?
Yeah, something like that.
And this game was real tough for me to call, Bo, because listen, it's 8-bitty. Again, this is another one that came from the C64, and it does. Neither one of these games fully take advantage of the Amiga, so there's that. But again, these are cheap games.
Right.
This one looks, and of course, this is an homage to Bruce Lee, so it looks like it. I can get past that. I can get past the multiple ninjas. The things I don't like about it, though, are just, again, these guys are real small. I'm assuming this is some kind of similar engine to the first one.
You know what? It also reminds me when we talk about the small sprites. Remember Hangar 18 also featured sprites of a similar size. So I don't know if there's a particular, like you said, a particular engine that people like to program in that just you end up with really, really tiny guys, or people are fans of huge sprawling levels. So.
It was my understanding that this was like this, but due to the C64.
Okay.
For some reason. All right. But your mileage may vary. That's what I read. So I got most of the way to the second area, and I just couldn't get any further. I would get overran and killed.
Ricky DeRocher brings up a good point in the chat. He says Dark Castle is a game similar to this, in that you're traversing the levels, to get to that next. Do you find that? Because I know that you did Dark Castle in one of the ARGs.
Oh man, Dark Castle, the controls in that were so bad.
Yeah.
Oh man, it looked so good, but man, it controlled like a dog. I didn't get very far in Dark Castle. I think this game. I've been chatting. What were your opinions? Because you also played the original Bruce Lee, and again, we can judge this on its own, but since it's built as sort of a spiritual successor, go down that road.
I love Bruce Lee too. Me and you, we have that in common.
We can't help it.
I felt like after playing, I feel like if I would have played this before Powerglove, I would have liked it more. But I think that the platforming is better in Powerglove. There were frustrating things in this game for me. Like, there are so many jumps where you don't know if it's just you can't make the jump because you're bad, or you can't make the jump because it's impossible.
That's true. I agree with that.
And that's frustrating. I sort of like games, and this goes back to the Metroidvania thing, where they put stuff out of your reach. It's like, hey, there's this thing up here, you're probably going to be able to get to it later. But I didn't ever have any experiences of getting to that thing later. It just seemed like all the stuff that was out of reach continued to remain out of reach to me while I progressed further on down the game. So maybe that means at some point you do a massive amount of backtracking, to get the stuff. But my main issue with this game is a Bruce Lee clone, is that the combat, I felt, although it is very generous with the health. You can go a long time before you die, but the combat itself was very unfair in terms of like the hitboxes and the feeling of being a ninja or martial arts master was not present for me in this game. When you hit the green Yamo with the flying kick, and he goes down, you feel like, man, it connects and it feels solid. This game, because of the overlap with the sprites and because of so many characters on the screen, I just felt like I was flailing my arms all over the place. Sometimes I'd kick, sometimes I'd punch, sometimes I'd stab.
My problem with it is just it was so small that it's hard to see. I had trouble gauging what was going on in the combat. Because if you think about it, the original Bruce Lee was mostly platforming with little combat.
Right.
I never really thought like a stud. I felt like Bruce Lee's getting the heck out of here.
Oh, I feel like a stud every time I play Bruce Lee.
I felt much more studly in this because there was so much more fighting involved.
It's definitely more combat heavy. This game, I kind of wish that Powerglove, one of my complaints with Powerglove is I felt like there weren't enough enemies. The levels, the screens were too blank. But this one, I feel like there's just a little bit too many in some of the screens, or at least I never felt equipped, even on the earliest stages, to dispatch even like 3 or 4 guys on a screen at once.
Well, they'll whittle you away, that's for sure. So I didn't get past, like I said, I think I got pretty close to this end of the second level. And this is another one I used save states a lot and tried to go back and forth. But again, it's frustrating, I think this is another game. And on the easiest level, I still had trouble. And much like the other game, I had trouble finding a video of anybody beating this too. Did you find any of those?
Nope. That's why we're watching my playthrough.
So I guess I like the idea. It's almost puzzly, and I guess here's what I could compare it to. It's sort of like a Prince of Persia to a certain degree, not in terms of the gameplay, but the platforming element where you have to get one place to get to the next place, to get to one place to get to the next place. The jumping is difficult. The gauging the jumps, you're right. Until you understand exactly what this game is, after a while, I realized I'm gonna go try that jump because I don't think I can make it. That means I'm probably not supposed to make it, and I would move along.
Right.
Once I've understood that philosophy of it, I could move on.
And it's funny. Pack Billy in the chat, he says this game gets better once you start collecting the power ups. This is the same thing that I harp on time after time with Amiga platformers. Is like they put all this stuff in the game, and I'm never good enough to get to where it gets good. You need to give me something right off the bat in like the second or third screen. If you think about a game like Ninja Gaiden, you get that throwing star in like the second or third screen of the game, then you feel like you're a little bit more powerful. I wish they would have thrown something in like that right off the bat, so I felt like I had a chance.
I think I could get better at this, and give it a couple weeks play. Like I said, I played this about the same amount of time I played the other one. I had 4 or 5 sessions with it, and the good thing about it is it loads up quick. There's no problems. You get to pick your start music, which is cool. It's got a training area, which basically all the training is this one static screen where you just fight a bunch of guys over and over. It's got multiplayer, which I believe, I didn't have anybody to play with it, but from what I read, in multiplayer, it's just that same static screen with 2 players are fighting in there. So, I mean, it's not like I don't think 2 players can actually go through the adventure. They're just fighting on the one screen. I think this one's okay. I think they're both okay.
Yeah.
And they're both games that you could probably invest some time in, and for $3, it's a good bargain.
I agree.
But if you buy this and this is what makes it sort of a downer for me, if you buy this on the basis that this is a spiritual successor to Bruce Lee, it is not. It looks like Bruce Lee, but it doesn't play like Bruce Lee, and it doesn't have the collection aspect of Bruce Lee, which made Bruce Lee fun. If you're going to compare the two games, and again, I didn't get as far in this as I've gotten in Bruce Lee, and I've spent 30 years playing Bruce Lee, but I prefer Bruce Lee. I like the collection element. I don't like the fighting element because that's not the strong point of the game. And if you're going to have that aspect of the game in this game, I would like characters large enough to see what I'm doing. So that's my opinion on that. Anything to add to that?
I agree fully.
But I mean, I thought it looked good, and I also appreciate someone taking the time to try to do something in the Bruce Lee vein. So I think there's a lot to be said. And I wonder if both these games, and this is just speculation, I wonder if both these games could have been done for the Amiga in a more robust way that would have made them much more enjoyable. I'm talking bigger characters. I'm talking a little bit of more panache. And I mean, that's probably not what they're all about, but I'm saying I think these games would have improved greatly if they had taken advantage of just a little bit of the Amiga's power.
Yeah. What I'm thinking of is having a sprite about the same size as your guy from International Karate Plus, with that move set, and then going to town on a bunch of bad guys. That sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Or even giving your guy maybe a couple actual moves, I'm not saying make him like a Mortal Kombat guy, but in this, when I was fighting, I just sort of, you could do a flying kick, and then you kind of went up and hit the button, and you saw what happened. Again, this one also gives you buttons, choices on the buttons, which is good. It's got, I like the fact that the people that did this, they know what people like. All right, they know what people want, and they delivered on a lot of it. And also, having not played the C64 version, I can't tell you what's better or worse. But I thought these were both pretty good games. I think they missed the mark a little, but I think they're still something you could get into for $4. Now, this game also came in a boxed version, and the box version is pretty much you get the same kind of stuff you did in the other one, but you also get a ninja throwing star mock-up gimmick in this too, which would be I don't think it's a real star. That would probably get you in trouble.
Yeah.
But I think that's I think that's clever. And from what I've read, both these are going for, if the box version is like 20 pounds.
Okay.
So or 15 pounds, so it's about $20 US. not a bad deal.
Yeah.
And both of them have nice box art. The music in this is really good.
I really like the music.
They give you a ton of musical options, and I think I liked almost all of them. I mean, there's like probably 10 or so different tunes, and I thought they were pretty good. So as far as that goes, I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah.
I looked up reviews on this one, Boatster, and Lemon gives this one a 6. So they don't like this one as much as Power. And I will say Powerglove, I mean, a lot of people really like it.
Yeah.
So it may just be not my bag. Retro Video Gamer gave this one 6 out of 10. So, you know, I would say, I would rate them both in that 6 area. I think they're above average. I think for the price, I think they're above average.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's check in with our Discord community and see what they thought. User Chris Folds says, Chris Folds, Tiger Claw. He says, the good is it has nice music, fun power-ups. The bad, he did not appreciate the overly floaty controls, the poor sound effects, and the insta-death loops with some enemies.
Yeah.
And the ugly.
Underpin the last part.
Disappointing C64 style graphics with poor animations, and it doesn't use the Amiga's capabilities. 5 out of 10. For Powerglove, he says, nice music, graphics lacking animation, but nice backdrops. Steep difficulty curve with annoying send back to the start of the level mechanic. A middle-of-the-road Metroid-style platformer that is fun for an hour, but ultimately not something that I would come back to. 6 out of 10. But he does give kudos to both games for 2-button controls.
Yeah.
Graham Vebke weighed in. He says, for Powerglove, he says, reminds me of a more difficult but not as refined Metroid. I do like the art, it controls well, and the music is decent too, but there are many better platformers available. 6.5 out of 10. Tiger Claw, he says, going against the popular grain, I don't like anything about this game because it's based on Bruce Lee, which I also can't stand. It feels and looks weird, and I will never play this again. So my score is purely for the music, 2 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a pan.
Yeah. And finally, the one and only Pixels at Dawn reviews Powerglove as a solid platform shooter that I played through to the second boss and constantly drew me back in. So you like this one. The character inertia is a bit distracting, but the graphics are good, and the soundtrack by Cyborg Jeff is pumping.
We forgot to mention that inertia element to it. It's subtle.
Yeah.
It wasn't too bad.
Not too bad. 8 out of 10 for that. And then finally, Tiger Claw. He says, I don't know the original, so might be unduly biased, but I found this to be an average flick screen brawler with an okay graphics and sound, but dull combat. I suspect the multiplayer mode is a bit more fun, however. 6 out of 10.
Pixels just mentioned on chat that the multiplayer is in fact deathmatch, but you can have 4 players and you get to be some of the boss characters.
Oh, okay.
Pretty cool. So that
might be worth checking
that
out.
might be fun. But I mean, I think this game would have had a better life if you could have like 2 people actually in the game at once that would have been running through it. That would have been kind of cool.
No, and it's certainly room enough on the screen for 2 people.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. You could have. It's like your guys are like lemming style.
So we did get some feedback from last week, Aaron. The first thing, actually, we got this feedback way back in January. I got this card from our boy O'Brien's Retro and Vintage. I got it, I read it, I put it on the table, and I forgot about it until I was cleaning up Amiga Studios last week. And I come across it, and I said, I emailed Jonas, and I said, Jonas, have we read this card on the air? And he's like, nope. And so I was like, oh, well, we will remedy that this week.
So Jonas,
this is straight out of Norway. Jonas says, Dear John, Aaron, and Brent, first of all, a very festive, wintry card picture on the front there.
That's just an average day in Norway.
Viewers at
Guys
home.
walking in the snow with
That's
torches.
right, with torches.
Yeah.
He says, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thanks for making so much cool Amiga and other platforms as well stuff in 2018. Love watching your regular Amiga podcast, but also enjoy ARG Presents.
Stunning.
The FM Towns episode was very interesting.
It was.
Now, wish you all the best in 2019 and look forward to more videos from you. By the way, thanks for mentioning O'Brien's when you made a video of those Spectrum games. That was nice. And I have some more Spectrum games from Pixels at Dawn that I will be taking a look at soon on our house Spectrum.
I found another game for you, by the way.
Really? Yeah, you just gave me a bunch of games too.
I found another one.
Funny. how Spectrum content is popping up more and more. It is currently approximately -7 Celsius outside. The ground is covered in snow. We'll soon go out to deliver post at the post office. Brr. Keep up the great work, guys. Amiga forever. Best wishes, Jonas O'Brien's Retro and Vintage.
Now, -7 degrees Celsius, that's about what, 25 Fahrenheit?
Something like that.
30,
something crazy. Something ungodly.
Well, no, I mean, 0 is freezing, right? And that's in Celsius.
In Celsius.
And so if freezing is 32 degrees in Fahrenheit, then I would assume -7 would be somewhere slightly below 32 degrees.
Well, it's a weird sliding scale once you get in the extremes with Celsius. I don't pretend to understand it.
I understand it perfectly. I'm dead on.
Okay. And he did write a PS. He sent me a coaster. And the coaster is an old collectible with beer rules on the back. These are the rules of beer, not like beer rules.
Oh, the rules of beer.
But the rules of beer, yeah. Macworld's most northern brewery geographically in the world. So thank you for that coaster, O'Brien.
Where is the
thank you for the card. It is over there.
Okay.
That's where everything is, over there.
Everything. That table, untold treasures on that thing.
We got some feedback from our Elite episode. Our boy Santar wrote in again. You love Santar.
What a name.
He said, I had the intro of Elite 2 on a cover disc back in the day and watched it countless times. It ran like crap on my A500, but was still so awesome to see those 3D ships flying around to that great music. When I finally got to play the full game years later, I couldn't really get anywhere in it due to the complicated user interface and controls, but I'll always have that intro. And he says, maybe the upcoming Rebel Galaxy Outlaw could be the dream game Boat was talking about. It's basically Elite and Wing Commander combined. Looks very promising.
Is that the one that's been in production for like 18 kabillion years?
I think that's Star Citizen.
Oh, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, while we were on the topic of having that opening on disc, of course, I'm the same way. I must have seen the opening to Elite 2 a million times. But do you remember a time, because you're younger, as you point out, I mean, I don't think, no one does that anymore. I mean, no one has a thing that they put on the computer or the console and say, like, look at this, bam, and you're just like, oh, it's so astounding that you can't fathom what's happening. I mean, when did that stop? Do you remember the last time you saw something that you were amazed at, like an opening like that? And then, because I remember, one of the first things I ever saw on the Amiga was the opening to Blood Money. With that awesome song, and then that ship flying through the asteroid belt, and the Earth comes up, or the opening to like Shadow of the Beast or 2 or whatever. I mean, do you remember any openings to games that really blew you away back in the day?
Oh yeah. Well, I remember when a lot of 16-bit games. The gulf was so wide in my eyes between the 8-bit consoles and the 16-bit consoles.
Right.
So whenever I saw, for example, when I saw Madden for the first time, it looked, and we called it 3D, even though it wasn't 3D. When it was on that new playing field. When I saw all the Mode 7 stuff with like Pilot Wings on the Super Nintendo, that was super awesome. But I continued to be thrilled by graphics probably up until around the PlayStation 2. I remember when Final Fantasy X came out. That was very graphically impressive. The last time I remember being really wowed by graphics, I think was, do you remember seeing in theaters, there was a cinematic trailer for the first Gears of War game that played the Mad World song?
Oh yeah. That was great.
I thought that was impressive. Yeah, that was probably the last time I saw video game graphics, and I was like, wow. Now I just take for granted that if they want to make a game that looks like real life, they can.
I'm telling you, I remember, and the Amiga was the embodiment of like flashy intros. Like this is the intro computer.
Yeah, just
the PC, they got into it, but I mean, the Amiga, you had stuff like Another World. You had the Wing Commander stuff was all the cool. It's got the band comes up and stuff.
Right.
And then even I remember seeing anything that didn't have a film at the beginning. When that started happening, that pretty much took that aspect of it away. But it's awesome to show like another one I loved, TV Sports Basketball, where it's got the whole network. It looks like a TV show. I mean, it seems
it's not really graphically impressive, but it's just cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was graphically impressive at the time. You're like, holy snow. Another one, like all the CinemaWare games had awesome openings. Three Stooges had an awesome opening. but where it pretended to be Defender of the Crown. I used to put that in just to show people.
But I think that's different than the beginning of Elite 2. The beginning of Elite 2, your eyes pop out of your head because it looks so awesome.
It is, but trust me when I tell you this, Boat, those other games graphically were so... I mean, most of my friends had PCs, and they would see Three Stooges in full color with the sound, the Three Stooges, the digitized picture.
Yeah,
that was unbelievable stuff back in the day. And it would blow people's mind. I remember showing people the opening to Wings over and over, where it talks about, it has the quote from about the airplane would end all wars, the ships would take it off the beach. You know, it seems dopey now. Another one, Impossible Mission. My buddy had on the C64.
Stay for a while, stay forever.
Played the crap out of that, and just for that, he loved that. So his email just reminded me of sort of a bygone era. You don't really, no one cares about that anymore. You know.
Yeah. We also got a message from Jim Plays Games, the guy that does those all those great tutorials. He says, "Thanks for the shout out. Glad you liked Frontier Fundamentals. As you said, the incremental save feature is very handy. Saving constantly helps avoid some of the frustration with the inevitable catastrophes. The game does have quite a few issues, but it's worth working through them just because it's such a rewarding experience in the long run. A most enjoyable podcast. I'll be tuning in. Cheers." Thank you, Jim Plays Games.
I needed Jim. I don't know who did the demos for. What was that? Sim Life. That man, I know I credit him on the show. It's another guy. Some of these guys, I give them all the credit in the world because I have no way I could have figured it out.
Yeah, lifesavers. Aaron, last week we had 2 winners of the Patreon Song Challenge. Just two. Many folks racked their brains trying to think of what the challenge was, and the winner, as always, came to us from the Scandinavian countries. They really, people over there in Norway and Sweden, they're in tune with my voice. You know,
they got a lot of billy goats over there, mountain goats.
Well, I was thinking more about ABBA.
No, are you kidding me?
You know, some people call me the 5th ABBA.
No, they don't. Scabba, the fake ABBA.
You know, that's funny since we just had a strike.
Yeah.
Bam. The last week's song was "Wide World" by Cat Stevens.
Yeah, that was try again.
Barkbit said that was also made famous by none other, as timely as today's headlines, Mr. Big did a cover of the song.
Kelly.
Boy,
that was timely.
that is
Mr.
also
Big,
timely.
not timely.
Hey, Mr. Big, he's always timely.
He died horribly. He could have sang that. He blew up.
I wonder who was Mr. Big in the band. It was it Mr. Big was actually this one guy, kind of like Hootie. There wasn't actually a Hootie.
So you're saying there's a Mr. Big, is a band called Mr. Big, but there's a guy named Mr. Big?
In the band. It's like a big country. It wraps around back on itself.
We just talked about big country at work today, ironically.
As timely as today's headlines.
What country big country's from?
Australia.
No. We looked it up. They're Scottish.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not a big country.
Hey, listen, maybe they moved. I thought they were Canadian. Shows you what I know.
So, Aaron, this week we have a new song. We have a new challenge. If you know the answer to this week's Patreon Song Challenge, you can email me, not at some fake email address I made up because I couldn't remember the real one.
No, that is the real one, Bo.
I made up. You can email me at john@amigospodcast.com.
It is a real one. It doesn't get used much. It's on ARG every week.
Okay. So
he never emails.
Here we go. Counting virtual sheep, Bernard Quinn, Retroman Cave, Tim Drew, Daniel Williams, Simon Rose, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Letter, Rob O'Hara, Howard Nims, Matthew Larimore, Andy Craig, Sean Zodarlin, Rulo, Max Collin, 419 Barkbit, Roland Burke, Andrew Monkshow, The Zombie, John Cook, Dan Ross, Leaf Kelland, Alan Kebab, Chicote, Level Lord, John Marshall, Matthew Perron, Ricky DeRoshu, Creepy Dead Boy, Figgy C, TZ, The Slow Norris, Stefan Sorgard Mortensen, Edvin Helen, Blindo 75, Christopher Hassel, Ravi Abbott, Chris Folds, Dreamcatcher, Lauren Giroux, Graham Vebke, Brent Dowdy, Elaine Denson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Hucker, C. Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Clinton Styles, Alan Kebab, Anthony Jarvis, Daves from the Crypt, Josh Nan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Roy, THG, Eric Nelson, Tommy Humberstead, Daniel Benson, Real Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Warren, Spixels Don, and Kjolbjorn Barman.
Was that?
Let that one tickle the old brain button.
Yeah, that one was. Yeah. Even Brent knows it.
Well,
He's dumb as a sack of ham.
there we go. Aaron, next week we got a monster show. A monster show. This is, how long has it been since we've covered a puzzle game on
I think
Amigos?
it was that one based on the chips.
Right, Curly and his quazy quavers to Elmer Fudd it up.
That, didn't we?
We didn't enjoy it, but we did enjoy the manual.
Yeah, that was funny.
This week,
like the quavers, they were good.
This week we're going to do a game called Pipe Mania.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've heard
Pipe
that
Mania.
one.
Come to Pipe Mania. Come to Pipe Mania.
That's not the song.
We
surely.
mean you.
This is why you don't get any soundtrack work right there.
Well, it's one of the reasons.
Yeah.
So, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you to Knight and Staff.
No, not him.
Brent, the boys at ARG Studios.
He's there now. I'm feverishly working on this week's show.
Ricky DeRocher, Duncan Stiles, Graham Vebke, Panthro Strife.
Yeah. Whoa.
Craig McClellan, Paul Harrington.
Free lunch.
Free Lunch is here. Retro Tech and Toys is here. Retro Man Cave was here. If you've got a retro in your name, you're in the right place.
Yeah, man.
Henrik Anderson. Everybody else. Pixels at Dawn. Life School. Hey, that's the best school to go to. Picard
Remember Girls
2005.
Remember that band? At the girls' school. No.
Is that another Big Country
They
thing?
were no good.
They had a song and the name was the same?
Yeah, that's right. That's how you know.
Who sang that song?
It is like Big Country. Come to think of it.
That's why I said it.
Well, I didn't get it.
Who sang that song? I know what boys like. I know what guys
oh, man,
want.
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about,
I know
though,
the
right?
song.
I
Oh,
thought
yeah.
that was Girls' School.
Well.
Pac Billy was here with us today. So thank you all. We record the show live every Friday around 5:30. I did not know that, Knight and Staff. Thank you, Brent. So apparently, I can click on the three dots, the hamburger menu, and see all of the participants here. I've been doing it wrong for years.
Oh, man, my brother schooled you.
Of course.
You have hit rock bottom.
Of course, this does not show all the people that were here at the beginning and are no longer
so
with us.
technically you weren't wrong.
But yeah, I don't think I missed anybody, but that is very useful. Thank you, Brent. So anyway, make sure you tune in next Friday or whenever you feel like it to see us talk about Pipe Mania in our very special announcement. So, guys,
Pipe Mania's running wild, brother.
oh man, there's all kinds of things to mind with Pipe Mania. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Until then, adios.